Charlie Kirk and More Things, Part 2. Now, earlier I was talking about Charlie Kirk and the conspiracy nut crowd of the Republicans, which seem to nowadays be a big chunk of them, okay? Why, I don't know, because like all conspiracies, there's never any facts that support the wild conspiracy. Anyway, I've already explained all this. So, anyway, what I want to spend a little more time here in this video is the idea of what the classic conservative is meant to be. All the way up until maybe the other side of World War II, this has been true. Classic conservatism to who? The father conservatism, Alexander Hamilton. The idea is that a true conservative, at its core, is a Christian. Now, I'm not saying this necessarily means you gotta be a Catholic or a Baptist or anything. I'm just saying you're a Christian. And then all these laws flow from it. Right? Adam Smith later on would say, the invisible hand that moves the market. Well, he's talking about God. He's the invisible hand. Okay? So, this is where we're at today, but up until real recently, right, no one anymore seems to really be a classical conservative. And I find this troubling because although we could spend hours talking about this, right, literally spend hours, one of the things is giving of charity. Now, giving the charity could probably look like a lot of things. Donating your time, obviously money. I would just stick with money, though, because a lot of things need money to operate. But it's this idea that I shouldn't have to tell you to give. You should give out of a caring heart. So, yeah, in one sense, the Bible tithe 10% of your earnings. However, in the broader picture, you should be given to charity. And it should come from your heart. Because a joyful heart of God gives from their heart. For example, when you go to Mickey D's and they say, hey, would you like to round your dollar up to, whatever, to the next dollar, instead of saying no all the time, maybe you should inquire, well, what's it for? What's it go to? Well, maybe it's to buy 500 wheelchairs or 50,000 wheelchairs. I don't know. Maybe it's to feed the hungry. Who knows? But instead of saying no, you should just say yes. Because does that 50 cents do anything for you in life? Right? The answer is always no. And on top of that, it doesn't matter if McDonald's is a billion-dollar corporation. Let's just say this, for example. Let's say McDonald's raises $20 million during that campaign for fundraising. And let's say McDonald's has promised to double that $20 million to $40 million. Who knows? Maybe even triple. You almost never hear of tripling, but maybe you would. That's an tremendous amount of money that can do a lot of good. Okay? So just give from a joyful heart. This is traditional. Sort of the classic. And like I said, we could talk about a lot of things. Okay? But here's another thing that I would go to. Nowadays, you see a lot of people trying to give you biblical reasoning not to support Israel, the Jewish state. Okay? And this is why I kind of was going off about Candace Owens earlier. Because they and J.D. Vance, and to some extent, but I think a lesser extent, even Donald Trump, because they aren't actually giving you real conservatism. They're giving you a pseudo-conservatism. And unfortunately, too many people are buying into it. For example, I'll just give you an example. A lot of modern day conservatives, I don't know if you've noticed, I get older, I'm going to be 43, but I've already noticed this. A lot of modern day conservatives, my age and even older, they're starting to turn into sort of like welfare babies. Democrats have always been welfare babies. Oh, my Social Security, oh, my Medicaid, oh, my, all this, right? And they seem to almost think like if the United States didn't sell Israel, I'm just making this number, of $5 billion or $6 billion in military equipment per year, that would somehow fix America's problems. It wouldn't. It wouldn't even put a dent in it, actually. And that's where people are wrong. It wouldn't even put a dent in it. Oh, imagine if we could, if that money was spent here in America, how much better. But see, okay, so here's the frustrating thing about that. I honestly say there's a little truth to that, but all it would be spent on is the welfare state. It would never actually do anything. See, for those three systems to ever be working, the United States Congress will have to fundamentally do away with them or completely overhaul them in the future. And they haven't done so at all. I mean, I'm getting older, guys, not younger. And Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, they're all going to bankruptcy. It's not even a maybe. It's going to happen. It is happening. Okay? And collectively, this thing called the Bible, collectively, chapter to chapter, you take all these little bitty verses inside the Bible, the stories of the Bible, and collectively it tells you the Jews are God's chosen people. God's timeline is solely based on Israel. Now, is the book written for the Gentile? Yeah, of course it is. The Bible tells you so. It's written for everyone. Specifically, the word Gentile is actually found in the Bible. But there is no doubt that countries that bless Israel will be blessed. It's in the scripture, whether you like it or not. It's just there. Now, you don't have to agree with everything Israel does. That's not even my point. But today, people are just making things up, right? Like when they say things like the Zionist Jewish Empire. Well, that's just made up shit. Israel don't have an empire. They don't even have an empire. That's always the funny thing about conservatives nowadays, who make shit up about that too and use that as, like, if the modern day Jewish state bothers you, you would have really hated the time of King David, because Israel as a country goes was never larger than it was except under King David. King David and his son stood under the largest Jewish country than it ever was and it's ever been. Even the modern day Jewish state isn't in comparison. It's not even close. And therefore, this is why I have a problem with Candace Owens and J.D. Vance, because they have said anti-Semitic things. They are, in my opinion, anti-Semitic. I was going to try to get clever with words, but I won't. Because their entire anti-rant against Israel has been anti-Jewish. And once again, this is not what a classic conservative is about. It's not conservatism. I don't know. I mean, here's another thing. Blaming Israel for all of America's wars. There's no truth to that. America got involved in every war it ever fought for its own reason, called the United States Congress. It wasn't because of Israel. I'm not saying Israel didn't play a part into something. That may not necessarily be true too, but blaming Israel for your country going to war is ridiculous. That's never happened. It's not actually true. It's fake news. I would also point out the broader point that I was talking about in classic conservatism, which is one part is every war America has basically fought since the time of Desert Storm, okay? There's an element to all this that stopped genocide. I want to go further on this, guys, but my rides are coming back out to the van, so I'll let you go. Talk to you later, guys. Maybe we'll put a part 3 out. Talk to you later. God bless. Bye.